Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at a new devblog for the next major update, Kings of Battle. This devblog is for the TAN-SAM-1C, and it is a new Japanese SPAA which has been long awaited for the, longest time. There's been a ton of hope for Japan at the highest echelons, and they've got a bunch of vehicles over the last few years to try and improve the area. The TAN-SAM will help out, even if it is a bit of a dodgy BR. Hopefully it can do alright. Just to let you know as well, they are celebrating the maiden flight of the UH-1C, or just the UH-1 in general. They're reselling the UH-1C XM30 for GE, so if you want to pick it up in the American tech tree, make sure to do so. My recommendation is not to pick it up. I feel like it's not as good as a lot of the other helicopters that are around, so maybe just focus on those. Let's get into the TAN-SAM-1C and its history. In 1966, Japanese engineers began work on developing a new short-range anti-air system, capable of intercepting targets beyond fire distance of AA artillery. Furthermore, the new system was envisioned as a modern replacement to dated anti-air systems already in use with the JSDF, such as the American M51 Skysweeper and also the M15A1 SPAAG. In order to fulfill these requirements, the decision was made to mount the missile system onto the Isuzu Type 73 truck chassis. With development in full swing, the first prototypes had been constructed by the mid-1970s, while field trials followed later in the decade. As the test produced positive results, the new SAM system entered service with the JSDF in 1980 under the designation the TAN-SAM-1C TAN-SAM. However, even after the vehicle entered production, engineers continued tweaking the design, coming up with improved variants by the end of the decade. The TAN-SAM-1C TAN-SAM Kai was one of these variants introduced in 1989, featuring not only improved missiles but also an updated vehicle chassis. This variant entered service with the JSDF in 1995 and continued being produced up until 2006. Thanks to its advanced design and continuous improvements, the TAN-SAM-1C remains in service with the JSDF to this day. So the long-awaited high-tier AA has finally come for Japan, the TAN-SAM-1C, and it's going to offer some pretty similar, mechanics compared to a lot of other nations around the 10 OBR. It has a little bit of a problem though, the fact that it won't really have a lineup at the moment, but hopefully in the future it's able to turn up. One of the things that is different for the TAN-SAM compared to a lot of others though, is they are adding a new mode for its seeker. Basically, there's a developer's comment, and it says the TAN-SAM missiles will have photo contrast mode, which allows for long-range capture against the sky in good daytime visibility. In this mode, the interference immunity is also higher. However, during night, it's not possible to capture targets against the ground background. For example, when you're on the ground and you try to capture a target against the background of a mountain slope. We'll tell you more about the photo contrast mode in another devblog. Now this isn't just coming to the TAN-SAM, it's coming to some others in the game, which will be fun. They talked about it being on the Strela in the sneak peek stream, so at least it gets something kind of cool. The vehicle has access to IR-guided missiles, and the actual missiles themselves, they actually compare them to the Type 93 missiles, which is a bit worrying since those ones are a little bit wonky. They do have a vastly superior range though, and also higher G tolerance. They had 35 Gs when we had a look at them earlier. One of the problems though is they don't actually have any RCM in them, so basically they will actually get thrown off course by countermeasures, unlike a lot of the other IR missiles which are in the game at the tier. It also only gets access to 8 of them, one full reload, so that is a bit of a problem as well. Hopefully going forward, they'll be able to actually kind of improve the amount of missiles that something like this has, or maybe improve the seeker so you don't waste them as you do with stuff like the Type 93. Since it can't really engage ground units, I'm pretty sure they'll give it scouting, which will be good, But one of the main issues that I've seen is it doesn't seem to have a radar on it, or at least right now it doesn't. So basically, you have a vehicle which is going to operate similarly to stuff like the Chaparral, where it won't be able to track targets that effectively, but also its missiles, once fired and once given a bit of a burn, if the vehicle doesn't have access to good old countermeasures, then it will be able to absolutely annihilate us. But if it's got anything to actually try and defend itself, there's not really going to be a ton left. Looking at this vehicle and also looking at similar vehicles which are in the game already, I don't really have hugely high hopes for stuff like this. Every vehicle that I've seen which has IR guided missiles against the standard CAS elements that people bring, it is good against lower tier stuff, which it can see, but when it's at its tier or in a higher echelon, it won't really do very well. If you think about it as well with the TAN-SAM, you'll have to run this thing with stuff like the TKX, even like the Type 10, and those BRs, a lot of vehicles don't just have access to standard countermeasures, they also have some electronic ones, especially when it comes to their helicopters, which would be one of the main things you would want to counter with this vehicle. So even with, this new mode that it's going to have access to, even with all of these kind of like mechanics around it, which make it different to its predecessor, it's still going to struggle against the meta things that the vast majority of people use, which is not going to be great. One of the things that is good, though, is it is pretty quick. So it has a 286 horsepower diesel engine. This means that it can motor around at 90 kilometers an hour if you actually let it to. So being able to get to capture points to be able to reload the missiles won't be too bad. And also at the same time, it is a really nice model. Hopefully they do some kind of reload mechanic, or sorry, not mechanic, but animation with the missiles to make them look really nice. If they don't, then that kind of sucks, but c'est la vie. We'll have to see what they do going forward. Another thing about the vehicle is it only has a two-man crew. So there's two guys in the front of it. You can machine gun them to death. This thing will probably get overpressured pretty efficiently. And if somebody comes in low, there's not really a lot you'll be able to do against them. I'm hoping that the vehicle itself, with these all-aspect missiles, which has access to, which have a max range of all-aspect setup of 6 kilometers, will be enough to be able to take on targets which are coming in. There will be still some stuff that can outrange it, especially if you up it in its old BR, but since you'll have to. But at the same time, at least you have something which is better than the Type 93. The Type 93 is still a speed demon, and one of the nice things about this vehicle being in the Japanese tech tree is it will make the Type 93 easier to spade, which I know is something that we generally don't discuss too much, but it is quite a large factor when it comes to these vehicles. They aren't just affecting themselves, they're also affecting other vehicles around them, so it's worth at least thinking about. The fact that this thing is added is lovely. It increases parity across the board, which is something I've advocated for many years now, and hopefully we can just continue to get more of them, especially in the Japanese tree, which struggles the most in terms of those ideas. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orangetail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.